Hello, hello, and welcome back to another stream of Higurashi, Himatsubishi. Himatsubushi. I am bad. Anyway, yeah, we're probably finishing this. I just checked how long actually the chapter is. I think we only have two more uh, of these chapters, so we're probably finishing today, which means we're probably starting the next one tomorrow. Well, these could still end up being really long. There's an accident that happened in such a small village that anyone could forget. One day, after a tragedy had come to a close, just as scars had begun to heal, a young man thinks nostalgically for the little girl he once met. The words he couldn't ask that day, the promise he couldn't fulfill that day, those regrets and lamentations opened a fate that was sealed, became a single hope. Himatsubushi. Fate isn't only about happiness. There is no one that would wish for unhappiness. Midsummer 1985. Back to the usual timeline. Papa? Are you there, Papa? Huh? Oh, are you alright? Why are you having such... Were you having such a scary dream? Miyuki was sitting next to me. I quickly patted her head after hearing her say that. Oh, it was a girl at the end. I must have had a bad dream while sleeping in the cabin. I was sweating profusely. No, it's nothing. I guess it's a little hot in here. Tried to wipe away the sweat while answering, looked around for a handkerchief or towel. And then a cold drop ran down my forehead. Miyuki turned to me and smiled, and wiped my face with a towel she received at the takeoff. Thanks, Miyuki. Of course. Hehe. Thanks to her, I was finally able to shake off my slumber. So I got up from the aisle seat and looked out the window. I wrapped my arms around Miyuki in the window seat and listened to the noise. The land and sea blew past us before our eyes. Whoa, it's Hokkaido! Hokkaido is so big! Then the plane gently turned before entering the airport runway. Arriving at the lobby, I glanced around looking for Oishi. What's it called? Hinamizawa in Hokkaido? Arriving at the lobby, I glanced around looking for Oishi, and was met with a familiar gruff voice calling out to me. Akasaka-san! How many years has it been? It's been a while, hasn't it? Oishi-san, it has been a long time. Oishi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion. Akasaka-san, you've been looking pretty good. You look like a bona fide frontline investigator now. You're looking quite happy yourself. Posture seems a lot better. Is the ballroom dancing paying off? You should give it a try while you're still young. You hit with the ladies. Real babe magnet. Oishi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things, he started taking ballroom dancing lessons. Ah, that is because, okay, Oishi retired and went to Hokkaido. Okay. He had apparently gotten really into it and decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80, live out his old age dandily. Or, who might this be? Oishi suddenly turned his attention to Miyuki, who was standing idly next to me. He bent down on his knees to look her in the face. My daughter was frightened and hid behind my back, understandably. Come on, Miyuki. Please introduce yourself properly. Staring at Oishi for a dubious expression while tugging at the hem of my shirt. She usually not this shy. Wonder what's wrong. Okay, there wasn't a sprite for her in the originals figures. Also, understandably, Oishi gives off bad vibes. Sorry about that. It's usually not like this. Oh no, it's no problem. This old man has a scary face. If you don't mind, could you tell me your name? I'm Miyuki Akasaka. I'm 7 years old. I'm a bit scared to ask where the wife is. Nice to meet you. That was a great introduction. Expect no less from Akasaka-san's daughter. Oishi gently stroked Miyuki's head and smiled as though she were his own grandchild. After finally seeing that, Miyuki smiled in relief. Shortly afterwards, Miyuki told me that she was just doing what I had told her to do. Be careful around strangers. Oishi heard that and let out a hearty "Wahahaha," shaking his body while laughing and walking. I let myself into Oishi's car and we headed out towards the Hot Spring Inn. I'd originally intended to crash at Oishi's place, but Oishi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in a hot spring, then ate a delicious feast until we were full. Miyuki had a little of the Mongolian barbecue, was delighted with it. Ooh, that does sound good. After our bellies were swollen, Miyuki grew sleepy and went off to bed. Then Oishi and I reminisced about the time we played Mahjong together in Himizawa. It seemed that to celebrate our reunion, Oishi had looked for people who could play, but unable to find a suitable candidate who had to give up on putting together a table. He had. As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during the final manhunt. They end up catching those two guys? Oh damn, new Oishi sprite. Is this actually the other ones? Oh damn, it is. Nope. In the end, the search team never found them. They were probably hidden by the villagers, then sent overseas or somewhere else far away to lay down low for a bit. Oishi-san, if I remember correctly, you mentioned to grab one of their guns, didn't you? Did you learn anything from that? It was a foreign military pistol. Probably came from the ones the gangs in Kansai managed to smuggle in a ton of. We tried to get a match from the rifling, but didn't show up in any other cases. How about on your end? After that was removed to the front line, so I don't know much. In the end, it seems like everything was settled under the veil of secrecy. Oishi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink. But I mean, after that, sure was tough, huh? It has been 7 years now. Yeah, we held a memorial service a few days ago. Become estranged with my father-in-law lately, so it was rough getting everything ready. That must have been a lot of work. It was then that the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer clanked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Oishi meant when he said it must have been tough. Thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after. Yep, it's happening. When I phoned Oishi to apologize, when I did, Oishi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with the suspects, but I disappeared to drink late in the night without leaving any sort of contact info, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, that I should come to the station as soon as possible. Wife died of childbirth, I'm guessing. At the time, I could only think that he must have been actually pissed off, really pissed off. When I arrived at the station, he said this. Seems your wife was involved in an accident. I have no idea what happened. I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yuki was staying at. Being given roundabout several times, I was finally able to talk to someone in charge. After mincing words for quite some time, they told me Yuki Akasaka died in an accident. The world became a blur as I sat there dumbfounded. Yuki's death was unbelievably abrupt. unbelievably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth. Ooh. But Yuki's death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs on the way up to the roof, she just happened to slip and fall. She just happened to fall on an unfortunate place at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yuki's death on somebody, I began to think that it was an act of revenge by the Guardians. That they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. What I learned when I flew to Tokyo, however, was much more cruel than that. Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening. There was an elevator to the 7th floor, but from there you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late into her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Father had always said for her to not push herself, but Yuki insisted that until the time she had no choice but to stay in bed, she should be allowed to do as she wished. However, I had never once seen Yuki go up to the roof. I only heard from her father and the nurses. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend the time with me instead. I heard the reason why Yuki went up the roof from a nurse she had become friendly with. She had said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, she was able to cheer him up and give him courage. When he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. It was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, she felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why whenever he went far away from an important job, on the evening he didn't call, at the very least, she felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings would reach him. The evening he was frantically trying to find the phone and kept getting cut off. That happened. I wonder. Would have used the phone at the hospital, you dingus. Then again, I was also saying, like, do not keep going after the damn payphones. But oh well. At that moment, I remember the words the girl had told me. That it was best that I go back to Tokyo right away. Otherwise, there would be something I'd regret horribly. Yes, that's it. As I was away on business that day, Yuki had headed up for the roof. Had I known that this would have been the result, I'd have gone as the girl had said and dropped everything to head back to Tokyo. I might have been with Yuki on the day she died. If I was with her, she wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died was on the evening of the 3rd day of my trip. Yes, it was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yuki's voice and ran around the village trying to find a phone. The girl had gone out and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't and I had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yuki's death at the time and collapsed in tears. Of course, even though the cords were cut, had only put me off learning of Yuki's death by the one evening. In the end, had learned of it the next morning. Oh, she already died the earlier day. Never mind then. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized it was that girl's small token of consideration. That the first I've heard of that. Yeah, it's the first time I talked about it. Could have been a coincidence. She doesn't have any special powers or anything. Aren't you the one who told me, Ushi-san, that she might be the incarnation of a god called Ushio-sama? Well, yeah. The old folks in the village believe that Rika Furuta has divine powers. Divine powers? Oishi had originally said it as a kind of a joke, but realized that I was serious. He slumped his shoulders. I don't know if it's the truth or not. They said she did things like prophesize the future, talk about the things she should not know, have no way of knowing. That she was clairvoyant, that it was divine revelation. Now, all sorts of things. Of course, they couldn't give specific examples though. Prophesied Yuki's accident. Oishi tried to laugh off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, he kept it restrained. Does that mean an active and capable investigator from the Metropolitan Police Department believes in divine powers and curses? Hearing him say that so bluntly, I couldn't respond. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things. But he could only say that because he didn't know what I did. So I met the other girl, who both was and wasn't Rika Furude. Couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity. Of course, can't deny that it might not have been prescience but rather a warning. Not prescience but a warning. If what the girl had said was a warning about Yuki's death, then things became much easier to understand. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat because I didn't go back to Tokyo. My wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident. Not satisfied with the investigation into your wife's accident? Of course, I suspected foul play. Poured all the results and even carried out my own personal investigation. There weren't any witnesses to Yuki's fall. There was a possibility that someone had hidden, waiting for push Yuki down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the floor to hang laundry. The security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and was unable to find anything suspicious. In the end, even after my personal investigation, I can't think that anything else happened other than a simple accident. But of course, these are the guys that took the minister's grandson hostage. It wouldn't be impossible for them to push a lone pregnant woman down the stairs without leaving any evidence. Oshi's suspicion had clearly sobered up. They murdered your wife? Oh, there goes a bot. When Yuki died, I found out as well. Or precisely wanted to blame them, somebody so created the most viable scapegoat. Without any clear evidence, the violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart. Did that girl know beforehand about my wife's incident and was threatening me? Or did she prophesy the death and was offering me a road to salvation? If I had chosen between the two, I would tend to the latter. Or she smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. But if I may, if what you say is true, then Rika Furuta was a prophet who knew the future. If so, why didn't she predict that disaster? She knew that the gas eruption was going to happen. Why did she remain silent? Okay, the gas eruption happened this time as well. Interesting. Even a few hours beforehand would have been enough. If the village knew, then most of the people would have escaped without dying. Great Himatsubushi disaster memorial list. It was near the end of 1983. Volcanic gases from the Onigafuchi swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gas across the country, causing people to overreact over any report of odd smells. I hadn't heard of the blockade on Himatsubushi area being lifted, so it should still be cordoned off. That's... It was my turn to be lost for response. Well, before the reincarnation for Shio-sama was killed, then the village might have incurred the god's wrath, making him call forth the miasma from the swamp to kill everyone. The explanation is what the survivors are whispering about. Sorry, Oishi-san. Did you just say she was killed? Huh? Ah, yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a problem if I told you. When I saw the news, Higurashi has remembered that girl. Then I found her name on the list of victims. That's why at the time I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. It was after that I learned about the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Himatsubushi during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Oyo Shio-sama. The strings of mysterious deaths lined up exactly what the girl had predicted. I had always thought to ask Oishi-san about it. He had been involved in the investigation. That's right. That was the reason for a reunion. But right now, Oishi had said, Rika Furuta didn't die in the disaster. Was killed? Can I ask about the last year of the curse? I may be retired, but I still have to keep things confidential, you know? Excuse me, madam. Do you have anything cold that's brewed locally? High grade if there is. I'll leave the section to you. Oh my, I didn't mean it that way. Oishi laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, and stopped the hostess to tell her that cheap booze was fine. I know as much as was written in those magazines, but I don't know anything about the curse that happened the year of the disaster. Because the entire area around Hinuizawa was sealed off, you see? There wasn't much of an investigation that could be done on the last year of the curse. Even if after several years the quarantine is lifted, the villagers are mostly dead, and what few survivors there were mostly went to stay with relatives. The whereabouts mostly unknown. It's a complete dead end. Oishi seemed to prostrate to himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory of the rusty cogs in his head. Then he said in a completely sober voice, "The magazines made it seem that the curse of the 5th year was that disaster. But the actual curse really happened on the day of the Watangashi festival. A photographer by the name of Jiro Tomitake. He was the victim. Oishi gestured about how the victim tore out his own throat with his fingernails as he talked. In the bone corpse of a woman Tomitake was in a relationship with was found in the mountains in Gifu. The Gifu Prefecture police weren't very cooperative, so I don't know much about it though. There were 2 victims in one night. Actually, see, it wasn't just those 2. You see, the next day, Kumagai-kun, one of his subordinates, disappeared along with his car in the middle of his investigation. Kumagai was a younger detective that was going to be partnered with Oishi-san after we first met. He was going around the village to question people about the incident with Tomitake. He might have gotten caught up in something. If he was with me, he might have been safe, but even now, it still stings. That day, for some reason, I did a real number on my stomach. I had to pass on going around outside. Got too close to the truth and it was made to disappear? That's what I think. Kuma-chan was young and had a promising future ahead of him. But he still didn't have an experience on the scene. He wasn't used to dealing with any complications. Oishi lamented the fact that he wasn't with his subordinate that day. And then the next day, see, as you know him, you know him as well, Kasaki-san. You know Dr. Ie? Remember him? That young doctor from the hospital. Vaguely remember. For whatever reason, he committed suicide with sleeping pills. Sounds somewhat similar to the last, what's it called? The previous, chapter 3. Episode 3? No suicide note or anything. The autopsy confirmed that it was the sleeping pills. Nothing was in doubt except for the motive. If it isn't that hard to make it look like somebody died from taking sleeping pills, isn't it? Is it? Any possibility it was a murder? He was single, no prior marriages. Didn't seem like he was going out with anybody in particular. He was the coach of the local junior baseball team and was on good terms with the villagers. He was liked by everybody. I couldn't find anybody who would want to do him harm. Well, any chances to investigate were ruined by the disaster though. There's no way to find out anything about him now. Then what about Ricky Furuda's death? That was that day. Around noon, some of the old folks were visiting the shrine, discovered the corpse of Rika Furuda. Murder? Before we continue, you should probably stop eating the squid with salmon. That bad? Oishi nodded firmly. The corpse was found in the shrine grounds next to the donation box, although she was probably killed somewhere else. That's because, while she was completely naked, there wasn't any dirt on the soles of her feet. Any signs of some sort of sexual assault? According to the autopsy, there wasn't any indication of that. What we know is that she was rendered unconscious by some sort of drug, carried to that place, then had her abdomen sliced wide open. The organs were deliberately removed and scattered about. Conscious? Then she wasn't cut open after her death? That's horrible. The girl's prediction was right on the mark. I'm pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that led up to her own. For example, I think she said the housewife that had beaten to death on the fourth year had her head split open. Then, in that case, did she know about her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wanted to doubt the validity of her own predictions. But as people died exactly as prophesied, as the years passed, that prophecy would only come closer to fruition. And then, facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, her all too young life was snuffed out. And in such a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events held in her own end, my heart ached at her helplessness. About the way she died, it seems like it wasn't just anybody's sick tastes. What I'm saying is, I told you this how about Hinoba used to be home to demons, didn't I? Yeah, I think I remember. The festival in Hinamizawa called Watanagashi, the cotton drifting, seems to stem from drifting of entrails. Seems like it came from the man-eating demons ripping apart the victims, throwing their organs into the river. In other words, Hinamizawa pulling out the entrails had some sort of religious meaning. Well, this is according to old tales of Hinamizawa, you see. To act as an arbitrator so that the humans and the man-eating demons could live together peacefully, a god known as Orochi-sama descended from the heavens. If I recall, Rika Furuda was said to be the living incarnation of Orochi-sama, wasn't she? Yeah, so cutting open Rika Furuda was a living god would be the village nothing less than absolute sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege. In other words, you meant sacrilege towards Orochi-sama. The rest you should know, Akasaka-san. The wrath of Orochi-sama would occur that same night. Great Hinamizawa disaster. The official explanation was that some swamp upstream erupted with toxic volcanic gas which enveloped the village. The swamp where it erupted was called Onigafuchi Swamp. It was the origin of Hinamizawa's old Onigafuchi village. According to the village lore, the depths of the swamp apparently led to hell, where the man-eating demon came from. That almost seems too perfect. No. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There was another bit of folklore in the village. If Orochi-sama became angry, the cauldron of hell would open up and miasma would flow out. Or so they say. To the villagers, hell was the bottom of the swamp. So basically, the miasma poured out, smothering the village. Yep. Basically, due to the sacrilegious way the Rika Furuda, the living incarnation of Orochi-sama, was killed, the village incurred the wrath of Orochi-sama in the form of that disaster. That seems to be the best explanation. That seems to be their explanation. So what you're saying is that disaster wasn't a natural one. Well, everything does seem to fit together a little too well. If Orochi-sama's curse doesn't really exist, and everything really was just a matter of coincidence, I would doubt it. A wry smile formed on Oishi-sama's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though, even if it were absurd, there was a time he had thought the same thing as well. In regards to the religious beliefs of the villagers, suppose there was a fanatical group among them. The group created this situation that would incur Orochi-sama's wrath and enact a disaster to make it seem like the truth. Of course, I won't laugh. I wandered down that line of reasoning more than once myself. However, even though Hinamizawa is a small village, it still had a population of over 1,000 people. To murder that many people in a single night doesn't seem realistic, no matter how you think about it. The gas eruption was believed to happen around 2 a.m. Several hours before dawn, in that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible. The swamp the gas erupted from still had some religious significance, didn't it? If that's the case, then maybe there was something set up in the swamp that could be activated when our divine verdict was rendered. According to the JSDF press release, the swamp was declared the source of the eruption. This was after everything was thoroughly looked over by the investigating team. If anything like that was set up, I think they would have found it. It won't necessarily have to be in the swamp itself. Come to think of it, haven't you heard about it? The old story about how the faraway spring dried up in a village. Faraway spring dried up. The village spring dried up as well. What do you mean by that? Many waterways are connected by underground aquifers. Swamp and the springs are only the parts that manage to pop up above the surface. What you're saying is that Ongafuji swamp is connected to other swamp or spring. And there is something the villagers rigged up there a long time ago, something that changes the pressure on Ongafuji swamp, causing it to erupt with poison gas. Is that what you're getting at? Oishi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the youngins have a nice flexible way of thinking. That was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis that he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind to not dismiss it right away. That's an interesting theory. If that proves to be true, then it would be unprecedentedly the largest mass murder in the history of Japan. Once the quarter of Hinamizawa village is lifted, I think it should definitely be investigated. Oishi-san, do you still have any connection to the XX Prefecture Police? Somewhat. I'm an honorary advisor of the judo classes, so even now I pop by during summer training camps and such. I don't know when the quarantine in Hinamizawa will be lifted, but please let me help investigate. Got it. Oishi-san, how do you feel about the string of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa they call the Curse of Hiroshima? At the time, the villagers were putting up a lot of pressure on the station. The official stance on things was that the cases were unrelated. Each case was separate, each with their own resolution. That can't be, even though it was blatantly obvious that the cases were connected based on the village's religious belief. Akasaka-san, we only say that now because the rather grandiose way things ended after 5 years. At the time, those coincidental incidents just happened to coincidentally occur on the day of Watanagashi. Just it would be nice if things happened this year kind of feeling to it. Coincidence? The girl predicted everything from the beginning. Girl? Rika Furude. That child warned me about all the incidents that will happen afterwards. Akasaka-san, is that true? Yes. The girl said as much. The next year, the damn foreman would be killed, his corpse dismembered. Not only that, she warned me of all the events that would transpire in the following years. Son, when she told you all that, what year was it? When I met the girl, I was investigating the kidnapping incident, so June of 1978. The year before the dismemberment murder. Wrinkles formed between Oishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I had just told him. Akasaka-san, if you're wrong about Rika Furude knowing the future through some divine medium, this is getting ridiculous. Yep. If you're just trying to shock me, I'm going to really angry, you know? I'm speaking the truth. Then the script behind this chain of mysterious death was written a year before it even started. And just as predicted, Rika Furude was killed. At first I thought she meant that she would be killed in the disaster. However, now that I know the death wasn't due to that, but rather atrocious one at the hands of the murder, she said she would be killed. At that point in time, she knew more or less how her own death would occur. Now why didn't Rika Furude try to run away? Even if her death was already spelled out for her, knowing that she still had a grace period of several years, didn't she? She had plenty of time to try and run away or consult the police. Why did she just accept the death with no resistance? I don't know. Even though Rika Furude was doted upon by the older folks in the village, you see, after she lost her parents, she had no living relatives, lived a fairly solitary life, other than hang around with some close friends. Might have been that she didn't have any power to fight or anybody to rely on. She must have tried signaling somebody for help. In regards to her own death, though, you know very well that the village and the police weren't very amicable with one another, Akasaka-san. At the very least, I never heard anything about Rikafuda seeking protection from anybody. Or it could be that she simply resigned herself to being a religious sacrifice. It could have been something like that. There's no way that was the case. Spoke decisively. At the time, she said it. She had definitely said that she wanted to live happily, that she wanted to spend the time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life, she had hoped to keep on living. At that moment I became dumbstruck. What's the matter? Mr. No, it's nothing. Fell into silence. Oishi folded his arms and began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually, he stood up and headed towards the hallway to find the hostess, yelling that he wanted a pen and paper. When Oishi-san noisily, even though he was just thinking, left, the room immediately fell into a chilled silence. I stood up. It was then I realized that I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. When I stood open the window, a beautiful yet somehow ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. It was just now that I realized she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep living, happily and joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me, but I was a fool. Han been skeptical, asked explicitly, to Han realized. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Was that her cry for help? She didn't say as much that she wanted help. But even given that, it wasn't as though she wasn't looking for salvation. Without any family and unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village, somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. She had gone around and cut phone cords. If I had made the phone call and learned of Yuki's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why, knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help for me. Oishi, just before now, had lamented that that one of the younger officers gotten mixed up in the case had been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in the June of 1983, I could have protected her. In 1983, I would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter, Yukie had left me putting all my youth and passion into work, honing my wit and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. Nothing like my failing during the kidnapping incident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight. And by that point, I jumped into a foreign mafia-run gambling palace where I'd learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I had grown so much that in 1983, I couldn't have been even compared to how I was in 1978. That's why, if I was by her side, I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plot drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should still have been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized it if I was told of Yuki's accident, I wasn't able to realize it. I wanted to cry. If I had taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yuki's accident. And I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned about the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned about that, I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. Order to recover the shock of Yuki's death, I tried to remove everything about the place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was. Even though in exchange for saving her, the girl had told me of a way to save Yukie. I was unable to accept her gratitude, and now here we are. Here we were. She hadn't died in her sleep due to natural causes. No natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand that on the day of that year she would be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl without anybody to rely upon, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined death, and left this mortal coil. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant. Any person that was ever born, it was the very basest of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. She had said it, that if all deaths are preordained, that hers was probably also all according to plan. She might have been a lone, frail girl, but I don't think she would have accepted it all without at least putting up a fight. There must have been, in some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with that, she could muster seeking my help was part of that. God damn it. I howled. Stomped the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on at the time I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right, I was still green. If I was in the situation now, I would definitely be able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to settle the regrets she left behind, Inuizawa as a dangerous area was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. Oh, one moment. Oh, you're being weird. Yep, you sure are. That's not helping much. Maybe that's better. The stage of the tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I wouldn't have known unless Oishi had asked me about it. Akasaka-san, are you okay? At some point, Oishi had returned with notebook in hand, till I saw the expression on Oishi's face and I hadn't realized I was in tears. I never realized she wanted help. Akasaka-san, calm down. But it's all too late now. She was killed. In such a atrocious manner. She was counting on me, but I couldn't save her. Might also be at fault for not building up an amicable relationship with the village. If Rikafuda had told me about it, I might have been able to extend a helping hand. Wasn't able to build up enough trust for that. That's something I regret. When Oishi said that word trust, it weighed on me even more. Yes, it had given me her trust. She trusted me, meaning that she thought that I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried, I felt on my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually Oishi-san spoke quietly. Akasaka-san, does it upset you? It does. Then, there's only one way worth mentioning for Rikafuda to have her revenge. Is there really a way to do that? Oishi showed me the pen and notebook. In order to properly mourn the death of Rikafuda, I have to at least find out the truth. Yes, not just Rikafuda, lots of people died. The element must be immeasurable. But their deaths were left unsettled because of the disaster. And now we can't even investigate them as the memory fades into oblivion. Many people died. The old man was killed, Kumaita was erased, everybody was a victim. But the police can't even investigate it. Who's going to take care of their parting regrets? Only we can. One moment. Sorry about that. Akasaka-san, we find the truth. Yeah, we'll find it. And around every one of those strings of mysterious deaths, know all the inner workings of the village. We told an important truth the year before they happened by Rika Furude. We can do it. But they're already dead, oh, that's right. Rika Furude died. You were too inexperienced, so you couldn't save her. Oishi grabbed me, who was a wreck, and lifted me, filling me by the lapel. That's why. So told for that, we revealed the truth. If what you say is true, then all the incidents are part of some greater design. If that's the case, then how we investigate needs to change completely. We tend to spend tonight summarizing all the information you and I have, then get in contact with one of my former subordinates first thing in the morning. We're not going to let the case go cold. We're definitely going to crack it wide open. Crack it open. Crack it open. We will. Several years have passed, but it's not beyond the statute of limitations. Even if the case has been postponed, it's not closed. It's still going. We're going to keep it going. Yeah, you're right. Let's do it, Oishi-san. I won't let it end like this. I'm certain we will uncover the truth. We definitely will. I demonstrated my resolve to Oishi by crying out those words. And just then... Papa? The sliding door behind me opened, and Miyuki revealed herself while sleepily rubbing her eyes. My shouting must have woken her. She rushed over to me. What's wrong, Papa? Papa, why are you crying? Nothing, Miyuki, it's nothing. I tried to smile while wiping up my tears. Though Miyuki looked like she was about to cry herself, she extended her little hand to me. Are you alright? Did you have another scary dream? Don't cry, Papa. Ah, this is very sweet. And when she makes the gesture towards me, I saw the figure of another girl overlapping with her. Her innocent gaze and innocent expression felt frustratingly nostalgic, filling me with a painful torment. The girl who couldn't be there because I didn't reach out to her. She borrowed my daughter's body to offer me a word of comfort. Akasaka-san, please don't cry. Might be a hallucination, maybe a convenient illusion formed from my selfish dreams. However, that was her voice, I'm certain of it. Rather than blaming me for my mistake, she was compassionate. Why am I crying? After all, I have something more important to do than crying. While I'm tearing up. Miyuki, before you were born, Papa met a girl in Himizawa who was like an angel. An angel, really? Yeah, she was cute and kind. Wanted her to meet you, Miyuki. Right, that's already an impossible wish. And the future is already gone. Eh? Then I want to be friends with that girl. Eh? Hihi, I'm looking forward to it. Next time you go, take me with you. To Hinamizawa. Even so, that is something I can do. Of course. We'll meet her together someday. I'm sure of it. Yep. Someday, I'm sure, we will see her again. That summer, Higurashi cried in Hinamizawa. Oishi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I, at least wanted to apologize, had searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine of the Hinamizawa area was lifted, they would be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Rika Furude, till today, I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa is lifted, all I could do then was wait until whoever the person is returned to the grave. What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. Even now, sporadic eruptions of gas in Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely it seemed that she had no intention of meeting me until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Until the day I grasped the truth, it was the following year. Oichi and I co-authored a book on the string of mysteries deaths leading up to the Great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title, Higurashi when they cry. That was because of those few days when I was in Mizawa, the sound I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. Could only wish that based on the book, those people involved with the incidents could refresh their memories and bring to light a new truth. And more importantly, that nothing like that ever happens again. Wrote this in the afterword. Why did this tragedy happen? We can't reach the truth by ourselves. If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. Karudo Oishi, Mamoru Akasaka. This year, the quantum of Hinumizawa still hasn't been lifted. Oh. Higurashi when they cry. Wait, that was the end? I thought I had one more chapter. Well, damn. I was really wrong. Huh. Well, very short stream today, I guess. I don't think I should go into the next Higurashi game today. Wow, I actually can't believe it was that short. We only had that single chapter left, damn. Well, I couldn't have done it last time anyway, but still, dang. And I'll do the, what's it called? I'll do the all-cast review session, that's for sure. But damn, I did not expect this. Guess I'm doing all-cast review then. Then I'm giving my thoughts. Maybe I should do that before this. Yeah, I should probably do it before, because they do give their own thoughts and stuff like that here. I like this chapter. It was very interesting that this came from a different perspective than Keiichi for once, which was very interesting to see. Mamoru Akasaka is also quite an interesting POV. I loved how semi-fatherly he was, so to say. This being from a essentially police officer, well, agent, investigator, was also interesting. Led to a bit of a different perspective, and of course, especially it being from several years in the past, when the kidnappings and stuff like that was still happening. That was the most intriguing. That said, I feel like this was supposed to give you a few more answers and questions for the next 4 chapters, which are the answers arcs, I think. I don't feel like much has changed for me though. Well, they did say it's a bonus chapter. I suppose it solidified the fact that everything was planned and not accidents. Like, all the deaths are connected, it seems, and planned in advance. Which does kind of spit in the face of some of my theories. Like there being some kind of hallucinogens or something like that in the maybe groundwater, or because that would be more in the accident area. Like, it was possible that when the festival was done, what's it called? Watanagashi, something was stirred up in the water due to what the cotton and whatnot, though I find it unlikely. And I know something was released in the water by accident, got to people sometimes, and caused them to go crazy, which then, caused deaths on the same day. That was one of my main, well, theories, I guess. And I don't think that is that likely anymore. If all of this was planned, and since Rika knows of it, it seems very likely it was. What else is left then? Well, one of those was the injection theory, like that the people were injecting other people with some kind of injection of something that caused them to die. I've seen a few times around, which, if the deaths are planned, does seem more likely than not. What else? There's a story theory I made, which is that nothing is actually very accurate, the retellings, but that more it was like a story, if anything, and that's why a lot of information was kind of unreliable and not exactly correct. Just the broad strokes were the case. Well, actually correct, like Tomitake dying and so on, which could be true still, but doesn't really answer that much. It answered why there's so many seeming contradictions, but doesn't actually explain it. Thus, the whole village is in a conspiracy, which does seem quite likely. At least a large portion of the village or large group was in conspiracy to do deaths, to commit murders, which honestly seems pretty likely at this point. But again, that just explains the means, doesn't really explain, how do I say this, the methods, or even particularly the reasons, other than, I guess, religious reasons, kinda. Guess if Oroshio-sama's a thing, there might be a section of the village, the extremists, that believe the village opening up to the outside world is already impure, whatever, that has been sold, ruined, their whole demon ancestry thing is wasted, and everybody should die for that. The village should be sealed off once again, and the gas would seal it off permanently from the outside world, more or less. It would be our reason. So to do it like Clue, the location of the murder is Hinamizawa. The murderer is a group or conspiracy group, and the reason for the murder is religious reasons to seal off the village forever, from the outside forever. Not exactly the strongest answers. Like, the most likely group to do this would be the Sonozakis, the most capable, but I also think the least likely, because they have a lot of people outside the village, business and stuff like that, and themselves married into outside people. So if they're punishing the village and everybody in it for bringing the outside world in, well, they're kind of the main people doing it. Maybe the Kimoyoshi would be more likely, but we know very little of them. And I don't think Rika and her family, which doesn't exist anymore, just Rika, would do it. The elderly, maybe, but also unlikely. Oh well, that's about as many thoughts as I have. Let's go to the all cast review session. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi when they cry Himatsubushi.
暇つぶしをプレイしてくださり誠にありがとうござい
Why
ま
don't
す。
you? Ah, my keyboard is almost out of power. Well, thank you very much for playing him. Mufufufu. Mufufu. Oh my, no matter what anybody else says, I was the star of the scenario this time. On top of that, they added some nice jazzy theme music. I do agree that. Love jazz. Oh, I never changed any of the music this time. I'm an idiot. So that there is some nice jazzy music. If you can't laugh here, then when can you laugh? You know what? That's for this section. Anyways, has there been too much of you lately, Oishi-san? Huh? What do you mean by that? Because, she meant that literally! Very impudent of you to try and hog the spotlight here, even though you already had all that screen time. Ahahaha. Besides Rika-chan, who was the main heroine, everybody else really didn't have any appearances, did they? I heard that this time the singer was a bit of a side story, but didn't think that they would leave out the main cast this much. You didn't have it so bad, Mion-san. At least you had a few appearances, didn't you? Did you not? Well, Frenna and I didn't even have a cameo. Rena still shows up on the covers a lot, so she's still okay. Exactly what are you trying to say, then? That I was the only outcast with no appearances, is that it? Nipa! Wah! They only treat me horribly. Wah! How sad, how sad. They'll probably just keep treating you worse and worse, till you finally drop down to a supporting role. Wah! That's just too much. But that's not true. There's lots of people who like Satoko-chan. They won't treat you so horribly, okay? I don't like being treated like this. Wah! I think you'll probably have lots of appearances next time. Next time. Set you up, okay? But I'd heard the scenario was supposed to be somewhat of a bonus story. Is it really? I think this kind of got complicated. The story was difficult for me to understand. Yeah, what I found hardest to believe was that the year before the strings of mysterious deaths, Rika-chan already knew about them. Which means all the incidents were part of someone's scenario. That's a pretty important piece of information. It's probably because I'm a shrine maiden, so I knew the future from Oroshio-sama's divine revelations. For somebody who likes to believe in the theory that it was the work of human culprits, I'd like to deny that. Believing this curse so that Rika-chan, who's the living incarnation of the deity that protects Hirisawa or Shio-sama, could have that divine power is a possibility, I think. Nope. Someone who thinks that the works of man, that kind of unfortunate fantasy will not stand. All the incidents were caused by the people. And there is no curse of magic, or aimbots, or cheat codes. It would be wonderful if I could use magic though. Rika-chan, if it's Rika-chan, I could go along with that. How? Well, for the people who believe it was the work of humans, the ending was a big revelation. From the first incident until Rika-chan was killed in the Great Disaster, everything was scripted. Knowing that's all one big incident vastly increases the amount of material you can hypothesize with. I think that the prophecy is proof that itself that Rika-chan has some divine power. In other words, it's proof that there is some mysterious power at work in Hinizawa. I think it's proof that the incidents weren't the work of humans alone. The inside of my head is so muddled, I don't know what's going on. Oh, that's right, more importantly, that expression Rika-chan was wearing this time was super scary, wasn't it? Beep. Yeah, I was surprised too. I never thought the cute little Rika-chan would laugh like that. Hey, just for a little bit. Could you show us that face one more time? I don't want to. I don't want her to do that outside of the story. How? What's this? A blackout? Nobody move. Any weird movements, and you'll come face to face with synchronized Gatling guns, multiple homing missiles, and be cut up by laser sabers for the finisher. Satoko? What's the meaning of this? Oh ho 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 ho. Now I'll be starting the after party for everybody who didn't have an appearance this time. Oh ho ho ho. Hee 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 hee. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. Hello again, everybody. I don't think I'd have an appearance here of all places. I'm delighted though. Satoko-chan, thank you. Whoa, hello everybody. Yeah? Oh my, didn't I warn you not to move? Yuga-san, are you okay? Ojo-san, did you have to go this far? Didn't have to go this far. Oh ho 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 ho. The grudge of somebody not making an appearance is a terrible thing. Sadako had lots of appearances in the main scenario. The grudge of somebody not making an appearance. Damn it. When was she able to set this many traps? Maybe that was when the place was selected as the venue for the after party. At the point my traps are already set. Oh ho 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 ho. Oh, I know. That's somebody behind you pulling the strings. There is, isn't there? Come out. Hello, my sister. How are you doing? Oichi-chan, hello. Yeah. You saw her perform for the same trap twice. I thought it was you, Shion. Even though you get the main character for our scenario, this is how you behave? Now you've gone and done it. If it's only the bonus scene before the answer act, I can't let my sister have all the appearances. I'm not that generous, you know? Well, in any case, I just let Sadako start a little something something. Shion, what is that you want? Let's just say I'm securing myself a little safety buffer. The other day, for some reason, you're steadily getting more votes in the popularity poll. Yep, in the first half of the Higurashi chapter, there were a lot of people getting infatuated with me-chan. When the malicious side made its appearance, all the players finally started noticing my charm. Sadako also earned a good reputation during the tight Higurashi arc. Ren and Rika-chan have become a strong baseline of support. Your popularity has long since faded away. That's why I thought I'd take the time now to crush you and Sadako, who've been getting too many votes for my comfort. So I came up with an elaborate plan. Huh? Shion-san, what did you just say now? You're going to crush me as well? You're a little slow to notice, aren't you, Shorty? Here you go. Hooah! Goodbye, all you regulars. Here. Hello to all you irregular folk. All the main characters are done for. Shion-chan, don't have to go that far, probably. No, Jiro-san. It's interesting, so just let it be. The number of appearances for both of us is going to go up, you know. Jiro-san, do you not like being by my side? That's not true. Chie-sensei, did Chi-chan pay you off too? I'm sorry, Yuga-san. Shion-san said she would make me a new segment called Teach Me Chie-sensei, starting from the next scenario, so I just... Well then, who should I dispose of next in a most embarrassing manner? Maybe Sadako, since she helped me set this all up? I won't be allowing that! Is it finally here? Yeah! Oh, it's in here. Coach! He seems somehow reliable for once. I, just curious, shall not allow any aggression against Sadako-chan. I may also just be a supporting character, but don't think you can persuade me so easily. Oh, he's about to be persuaded very easily. I know exactly why. Then you're saying you want to withdraw from being the lead in documentary, Sadako's maid training, dress-up chapter that we planned on filming after this? Shion-sama. I Kyosuke Ireisha following into the depths of hell. Knew it. That was fast. Well then, with this I'm holding all the cards. In this after-party scene too. I'll have everything proceed as I see fit. Huh? I'm missing somebody. Shion-sama, Ryuga-sama isn't here. She escaped at some point. There she is. Ryuga-san, didn't I just tell you you shouldn't move? Rena-chan, I won't do anything to hurt you, but it's easier if you don't resist. I'm sorry, but all this is really bizarre. What are you trying to do? My Kashi script? I see you're planning to secure your role before any of your lines get cut, aren't you? This is futile. Rena-san, you should stop your pointless resistance and just come along peacefully. If you make me angry enough, then not only will you suffer, but so will my dear sister as well. You can't do anything just by getting your hands on the script. Rena, I'm sorry, but do what they say. It's alright, don't worry. Now that I have to make the script, reverse the situation. Reverse the situation? Exactly what are you scheming? Rena-san, you're pretty good at making me laugh. Then why don't you go ahead and try? Show me how you're going to turn this around. You spoiled Chi-chan. Okay, this is how she's gonna do it. She's gonna yell, I'm going to increase Keiichi's workload by 5 times! And he's just gonna show up. Even if you don't have any appearances in the main scenario, you've had so much screen time during the after party, you're spoiled. What exactly are you saying I was spoiled? You don't understand, Shi-chan. Even if it's just the after party, you still have an appearance. You appeared a lot in the previous scenarios. There's somebody who resents you from the depths of hell, who can't forgive you. Listen, can't you hear it, Shi-chan? That's right. I understand now. I get it. Kei-chan. That's right. He never had any appearance during the after parties. There's no way Kei-chan would allow somebody to monopolize the after party something himself without him. I see. So, how is Kei-chan going to appear here when he's still at the studio recording lines? Not as if anyone here will have surpassed his workload. That's just your self-centered way of thinking, Shi-chan. Yeah, no, that's the voice word count for Akasaka's part. Chisete, hold Rena-chan up back. Huh? Huh? It's too late. It's finally your time. Keiichi-kun! That voice is Kei-chan? No way, he's still supposed to record his lines at the studio. You're right. I was until just now. Every time I got left at the studio, I got told, you can join the after party if you beat somebody on the remaining word count. But I always have 2 or 3 times the script volume. The other characters making it impossible. It's like the sound director doesn't let me join the party from the get-go. At least that's what I had thought. But finally, somebody overtook me, a certain character. Shion, feast your eyes on this. Huh? Gah? That's right. Now she's appearing in the most scenes of the main character. Shion has to speak twice the line she's had so far. And since Shion and Leon have the same recast, that's double 8 again. As a result, I've been fully excused from staying back. Meaning Shion, it's your turn to be left behind. No way. I have to speak this much for my Kashi? Let's see. Kei-chan has about 500. Shion has over 2,700. That's like the total of all characters together in a normal adventure game. Furthermore, adding on Leon's lines, that makes a total of... Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So with that, you have my thanks. Even with the moon abandons the land and shrouds in its true darkness, the demon lord of darkness, Black Keiichi Mibara, shall appear. I see. It's like this, he can appear even if he doesn't have any character art. There's no character or background art, so it's really easy on the production staff. Shion, you act like you're the main character in a tragedy. From my point of view, it's more like a comedy. Seems like you've gotten a little carried away. Every after party. Always being last in the studio. Missing every after recording meal. Witness my anger, my grudge, and all my sorrow. Shall instill it all upon you. It almost seems like Keiichi-kun is doing some sort of bad guy transformation sequence. This isn't some sort of transformation. I'll have you know, it's always been a demon lord. I've always been. As of now, this world which is enveloped with true darkness shall dance upon the palm of my hand. With this world of darkness, there are now no one who can oppose me. Keiichi-kun, it's kind of scary. Ow. Scary. The age of frightening Higurashi has come to an end. From here on begins the dawn of perverted and cutesy Higurashi. Ooh, what did you say? Maibara-sama, bring me with you. You know it, coach. Then at the first step, I'll show our Doctor come coach my power? Yeah, what is this? Taka-san, in a miniskirt nurse outfit. And it's not some pink one like you find in Galga. He knows what he's doing. He's a proper pure innocent white. Even though she's a nurse, she doesn't appear in the outfit even once during the main scenario. You gotta be kidding me! Well then, on to our next target. Rena! This hasn't changed the situation at all. It's just a different type of crisis. Oh, I can't do anything in this darkness. Now then, who shall I make wear what next? Maybe a nice school uniform, gym clothes, school swimsuit triple combo? Bakon, Hime-sama, you're the best. How about a bunny girl or booth babe costume? No. A leotard could be good too. No, wait. How about just making everybody hyper sexy? You would, of course, leave the socks on. Whoa, that's a good idea. You know your stuff. Coach, I feel like we finally sync eye to eye here. Wait, Mibar-san. No, K. Call me Irie from now on. Call me Dr. Irie. K. You can't forget about us. Okay. Tommy and Cloud are already on your side, K. Tommy! Cloud! We're all finally here. The Elite Four have arrived! Who's Cloud? Who is Cloud supposed to be? Is it Oishi? Tommy is Tomitake. Irie is, I guess, Iri. I guess Cloud would be Oishi? Naruto. Finally, with K at their head, the evil Elite Four have made their grand entrance. The complete darkness, the demon lord of the darkest black, Keiichi Mibara was finally able to reach the surface world. His magical power was without equal. In the darkness, nobody could stand against him. All must bow. Ah, would the heroines be able to escape the darkness, be forced to submit to the will of the demon lord, forced to wear embarrassing outfits after embarrassing outfit, being used as a life-size dress-up dolls for all eternity? That's great, more. By the way, the school sims are a classic type, right? I won't forgive you if they're competitive swim style. Damn it! Shion! Thanks to you, it ended up being like this. Do something about it. It's alright, sis. Kei-chan isn't the only one who can unleash their true power amid darkness. Huh? Do you have such a convenient ally? You are the impertinent, Shion Tsunosaki. Also, if you were expecting help from the principal, that's too bad. This duel between the sound of young men. If you call yourself a man, do your best to return the nice little authorization slip here. Please don't call his mom. Of course, you won't be able to rely on a newcomer Akasaka-san either. He's been on private couple's hot spring vacation. His family set up for them since yesterday. In other words, all the bases are covered. You're so naive, Kei-chan. Your characters who have art are able to reveal their true form in the darkness. Chie-sensei. That's how it is, Mibara-kun. It's dark, so I can't really tell, but it seems like Chie-sensei's outfit is different. What are those? All the swords in her hands? They could be. The black... Any more than that is a secret. Nipa. Mibara-kun, that was just a little too much mischief on your part. The church can't overlook any more than this. The church? Wait a minute. This here, there's no way, right? They're cheating. It's against the rules. Hey, she can do this, right? Wait, you can't use that big one. Her arc drive has started sudden invincibility. The 7 hole. I actually don't get the reference here. That was funny, but it did not have any information. Oh well. Oh. Ah ha ha ha. Hello again. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry Himatsubushi. I think you already know this, but Higurashi When They Cry is a type of visual novel without any choices. Therefore, compared to adventure-type visual novels with branching routes to take, it's much closer to an experience or a book of or a movie. Because of that, there is the option out there that this should not be called a game per se. If you're just watching like a book or movie, Higurashi When They Cry isn't really a game. True, it's not a game. That's why, as you know, there are a lot of mystery reference during the course of the experience. When you challenge those, this will become a proper game. All the players have the privilege of scrutinizing the mystery packed from all sorts of angles. For example, forming a theory about the mystery during the course of the story, sharing them with your friends and receiving their theories in return could be fun. In any case, the next chapter starts the Answers arc. We tentatively called it Meakashi. But answers are a sad thing. Based on what is revealed, all the possibilities that you were allowed to imagine till now will suddenly become refined down to a few. Based on that logic, we think that right now, here, for the Answers arc, is probably where people can enjoy this work and call Higurashi When They Cry the most. If by any chance, while you're reading this, you already have the Meakashi chapter at hand, please enjoy hypothesizing, theorizing, and fantasizing to the fullest before you start. That's where the real charm of the series takes place. Ahaha. Sorry for saying something so impudent. There's nothing better we'd like than for you to enjoy Higurashi When They Cry. Well then, have a long and pleasant night. I'm waiting for you in Hinamizawa. If you come and play with Rena, I'd love to go treasure hunting together. Ow. And that's it. We are done. What exactly is chapter jump? Just to check. Probably just selecting, yep, the chapter specifically. Even have the specific breaks. Actually separates chapters into days rather than chapters as per, what's it called? As per the save. Yes, this is chapter 1. This is 2, 3, 4. Nope, that doesn't work. This would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that doesn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seems about right. Oh well. Just to check. It's not like there's new tips after everything, right? No. I never checked, I never saw a message that there would be. So I didn't expect there to be, but you know, might as well check. Should I start Meikashi now? I can probably do the first chapter. No, I can't. Even if I wanted to, I guess I couldn't. Well, if I waited like 20, 30 minutes, I could. But that's too much of a break for me. I don't have the next chapter installed or the 07 patch added on. So I'd have to do all of that as well. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take a short stream today. Sorry for making it short. I really did not think there was so little left of Himatsubushi. Honestly, this almost ended up being a two streams rather than just one, 3. If the last weekend I had more time, I probably could have done it in, what's it called? 2 streams, but oh well. Tomorrow we start Meikashi. I'll hopefully have Meikashi done before my vacation, which is around the 16th, 17th, something like that. There should be at least 5 weekend days that I'll be able to stream it, which is about the length of the other chapters. And I'd probably be able to at least do one work day, like one Tuesday or Thursday, if I still don't end up having enough days to finish it. So hopefully that will be enough. All in all, this is all. I'm happy to be done with the questions arc for Higurashi. This has been pretty good, though still I feel Umineko is better at this point. Mainly because I like the characters more. Well, the mystery too. I mean, it's not like I dislike the characters here, but I feel like I liked the other ones in Umineko more. At least the leads, which were carrying a lot in that game. Here, the leads, well, the lead of Keiichi is just kind of. And the other characters, it depends how much spotlight they have. Like, Mion's okay, but if she is as shown in this game and in Watanagashi, she has problems as a person. Shion, I've never actually seen a lot of, considering most of her interaction was in Watanagashi and detailed interactions in Watanagashi, and after that, and she died early in that. We saw some of that her in what's it called, Tataragashi, but nothing in detail. So it's hard to really get a good read on her, on that she's kind of a tease towards her sister. Rena's great, that's for sure. Rika seems to be pretty great. Satoko's alright, but she doesn't have a lot of content other than the previous chapter. In the previous chapter, she was more of a tragic figure. It feels like she's just. It doesn't feel like we saw a lot of actual Sadako, because she's put in an extreme situation and didn't act like she probably usually would in detail, other than like the beginning of a chapter. I guess a bit at the end too, but that also might not be really that accurate to her. Yes, you could say that for Mion to a degree as well, but this extreme situation feels more like she put herself into it than otherwise not. Like the whole door fiasco. Oh well. That's gonna be it for me for today. I'm calling it here. Next time we what's it called? Yeah, tomorrow we do Miyakashi. See you all then.